Well, hello, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back. Jiu-Jitsu 2000 here today. I hope you guys are doing wonderful. I'm back. I've got an interesting video for you. Today I want to talk about Alone the Beast, Season 1, Episode 4, Trail of Blood. I've got my notes here. This video will contain heavy spoilers, so if you haven't seen the show yet, you might turn this video off, go watch the episode, and come back and check out this video. If you cannot access this episode and you want to know what happened on the show, then this might be the video for you. So I want to give you guys a warning real quick. You might hear in the background my dog's panting. I'm hiding out underneath this tree right now, this evergreen. It's warm out today. It's 105 out. So my dogs are panting. And with that being said, I want to tell you guys, please take a little moment of time and click that thumb up button. And if you like the content that you have seen on my channel, please subscribe and hit that notification bell. It's those types of things that you guys can do that helps me do what I do. I write fabulous notes, I study this content, and it's my ultimate objective to come out and give you guys valuable, positive feedback on these shows and these episodes and what I'm saying and what I'm seeing on the show. And I also always try to bring the information in a way that has value to it. So I'm not just an armchair quarterback or somebody that's just talking about something they don't know what they're speaking of. So let's go ahead and get started. We are once again in the Canadian Arctic. It's 37 degrees outside Fahrenheit. There is a moose kill. The flare goes off. We have 3 brand new participants. We have Nathan, a 46-year-old man from Wisconsin. We have Amy, a 38-year-old woman from Wisconsin, and Jason, a 45-year-old man from North Carolina. Now, starting off with Nathan, he says, how in the world are we going to cut this moose up? Amy says that her number one priority is they need to open that animal cavity up. She's afraid that that carcass is gonna it's gonna go bad. Now Jason, he says this experience gives him an opportunity to connect with how it all started with rocks. He teaches survival for the US Army. And Amy has a degree as a natural resources technician. She spent the last 20 years living with the passion of primitive skills. She has 5 kids at home that are rooting for her on this show. And she decides to go ahead and go off and start to establish some sort of shelter. Now Nathan, I like this guy. He says that his largest skill set is hunting, fishing, and butchering. So Nathan tells Jason, hey, why don't you cut a length of the hide for your bow drill, for your cordage? And then there's an annotation that comes on the screen and it says there's evidence of bow drills existing as early as 120,000 years ago. Native Americans used animal hide or plant cordage for bow drill string. So Jason heads back to where Amy is and he hands her the strap that he wants to use for cordage, but it still has a lot of hair on it. And he's basically asking her to work that against a tree, to put it around a tree and try to work it to get the hair off so that it'll become a cordage for friction fire. So she does. She takes it, and he takes off and goes to help her by looking for boughs to put in the shelter. Nathan is down there skinning the moose, and he says, I hope to finish within the next couple of days. One thing I liked about Nathan was his methodical approach to skinning this animal. He's taking his time, he's being cautious. Very cool. Now, there's an annotation that comes on the screen that says meat spoils at a slower rate when below 40 degrees. Low temperatures slow the growth of microbes. The digestive system contains trillions of bacteria, including E. coli, which causes illness if consumed. Moving on to the next page here. Jason and Amy start to try a bow drill. And I'm not trying to be difficult here, but I do have something that I noticed that I need to say. I'm looking at their bow drill set, and me personally, I think that it looks suspect, meaning not that good. It's 32 degrees outside, and now 4 hours has gone by, and they've spent 4 hours working on fire. The hearth that they're using, the hearth board, it looks like it's a green piece of wood to me. And it looks like the decomposition state of the wood isn't correct. So they decide that they're going to try again tomorrow. Now, if you haven't seen my bow drill tutorial where I talk about the decomposition state, maybe you could tune into that video, because you'll understand what I'm saying here when I mean decomposition state of the wood, because I show in that tutorial what I mean by that. So it's dark outside, it's 31 degrees, so it's below freezing, and Nathan heard some footsteps. He heard some noise, and this is not uncommon in my opinion. I think whenever people get inserted into an ecosystem, that changes the ecosystem. So all the animals and things in the area want to investigate and see what this new smell is. What is this new movement that I'm seeing? What is this? These three people? What's going on? They go and then they investigate. The animals do. So in my opinion, when people first arrive on the scene, they're going to see more animal activity probably than ever. Unless there's food introduced, of course, then you'll see animals. So we're moving forward. It's day 2. We're talking about Amy. The temporary shelter wasn't warm. They didn't have much time to get a lot done on the shelter, which is understandable. But they're going to be out here for a while, so they should have plenty of time to get the shelter done, you know, how they would want it to be. She said they didn't sleep very good, and she's frustrated. She says, we've got all that meat sitting over there and no fire. Can't eat any of that meat. You know, they all understand the massive importance of having fire in a survival situation. And she's just showing a little bit of concern early on, which is rightfully so. I mean, she's really aware of what's going on. Jason is starting to get discouraged, and this is why, because he said Nathan kind of chose to go butcher the animal. Amy kind of chose to go build the shelter, and I kind of chose to be the fire guy. And he feels like he's letting everybody down, because Nathan's got progress, Amy's got progress, but Jason has no progress yet. So he feels like he's letting them down. Now, one thing that I noticed about his hearth is he had 3 holes in his hearth, which means as a fire maker, as a primitive fire guy, that means he's been working on it a while. Okay, now we're moving forward. It's day 3. I'm talking about Amy. She says the only thing that she's had to eat so far was some berries. So she decides to eat bone marrow raw, and it's only day 3. And I'm kind of thinking that, in my opinion, isn't necessary yet. It's not dire yet. And then there's an annotation that comes on the screen, and it says bone marrow is high in calories and fats, and native people often boiled and rendered marrow. It can also be eaten raw. So moving forward, I noticed that they're trying to do the 3-person bow drill fire now. So you have one holding the bearing block and standing on the hearth, and the other 2 are pulling the cordage back and forth like this. And the set looks terrible. And I'm sorry that I'm being blunt like that, but it does. It doesn't look very viable at all. It looks like the hearth and spindle are both made out of green wood. Now, if they're using the right species of wood, it'll eventually warm up and dry up and work. But unfortunately, it's going to create a lot of an unnecessary effort to get that fire. It could have been a lot easier if they would have just found better materials. So Jason puts the marrow in the socket for lubrication, and I thought that was smart, but ultimately it comes down to the set that they're using for friction fire, not the socket. It's a good technique though. It's not uncommon to put leaves or something up there to create lubrication for minimal friction up top, so you get maximum friction down below. So his idea is good. His thought process is smart. I'm not knocking him. And I'm noticing another thing that's a little bit hard to see as a primitive fire guy, and that's their short stroking. They're not giving long, full strokes, making that spindle really get a lot of revolutions with a minimal amount of effort. That when you short stroke that thing, it makes the whole situation harder. But they got an ember, so good for them. I'm happy. Jason's happy. He puts the ember in a tinder pile and he blows it to flame, and now they have fire, which is huge for them. And Jason says that was the hardest I've ever worked for a fire, and they're happy. It's cold outside. It's 30 degrees Fahrenheit. And Amy says, now that we have fire, I want to show respect to the animal by eating the heart first. She has a bark container full of berries, and she decides to put the berries in the chambers of the heart before they cook it, which is super cool. Now my question is kind of the same question I had on the last episode, is where are they getting all these berries? Last episode I kind of thought that was a little bit suspect, but now we have another group of people that has berries again. So either they're getting a source out there or there's some shenanigans going on. I don't know. Hopefully it's a source of berries. There's an annotation that comes on the screen, and it says some natives believe that eating the heart of the animal would give them the qualities of that animal. Now I'm noticing at this point that their shelter is making some good progress. It's looking good so far. Looks decent. They got good framework up, and it looks like it's fair. They got to eat, and they're much happier now. So we're moving forward. It's day 4. We're talking about Jason, and he's got the tendons from the legs and feet of the moose, and he decides he's going to make cordage from the tendons. He's smashing it and stuff, loosening up the fibers and twisting together cordage. Now I did notice something that I personally don't do. I saw him doing something. He's using stone against stone with the tendons in between. My opinion is when you use stone against stone to soften the material, you could cause little cuts in that material and make weak spots in your cordage. I always use like wood on wood, wood on stone because I don't want to damage the fibers. Now, I'm not knocking him. His cordage looks fabulous. He made some thread and gave it to Amy, and she's sewing up a container from a picardium sac. This is the tissue that's around the heart. And it says, an annotation on the screen says, some Native Americans use the picardium sac as a container for liquids, clay, and sinew. So very smart on her part to do that. So Jason decides he's going to go help Nate with the moose. And now it moves forward. We're on day 6 now. It's 30 degrees outside and it's starting to snow. Amy's coughing now. She's pissed because her body's pulling her down, she says. Jason wants to work on the shelter a little more. They notice that there's snow on top of the shelter, and because they have the fire in the shelter, the heat is rising and it's creating that snow to melt, and it's dripping water inside their shelter on them. So they're concerned about that. Jason's concerned about hypothermia because temperatures are cold. And then there's an annotation that comes on the screen, and it says, in cold weather, steady precipitation can cause body temperatures to drop, which can lead to hypothermia. So they decide to build a brand new shelter. And at this point, Amy had wore mukluk shoes or boots, whatever you call them. They're basically a footwear that's designed for after the snow falls. They're not real good when it's wet. So her boots are soaking wet, her feet are soaking wet, and it's cold outside. So they got the shelter done. It's day 7 now, and there's snow on the ground, and Amy decides to take the 4 legs from the carcass, and she wants to make some gaiters so that she can put them on her feet to help keep her feet dry. So now we're moving forward. It's day 9, a little bit colder outside now, 29 degrees. Amy's getting sicker. They made a grass basket to hold the stomach as a container to stone boil Labrador tea, which the container that they made was very nice. It looked like a bird nest here, and then they used the flesh of the stomach to hold the water in, and it looked like it holds like, I don't know, 40 ounces or something. It looks good. Then there's an annotation on the screen. It says Labrador tea is a plant that's been consumed for centuries for its medicinal properties. It's most commonly used for cough and chest congestion. So that's cool. Here in the Southwest, we use mullein for that. Now we're still on day 9. The water container looks nice. Amy has now had some hot tea. It goes into the night. It's 25 degrees out. It's dark and it's snowing at night. Moving forward to day 10, Nathan sees some blood in the snow, and that's about it for day 10. Moving forward to day 12, Jason sees predator tracks around their camp and around their shelter. They decided to put up a meat pole, which I thought was smart. So they have 1/4 in the shelter and 3/4 on the meat pole. And at this point, Jason says he's lost between 17, maybe 20 pounds. It's 25 degrees out. Jason asks Amy if she wants some steak. He's outside of the shelter and he's cooking on a rock, and she says no thanks. She doesn't want any steak. She says that yesterday she was starting to get dizzy, and it was enough that she had to sit a lot of the day. She wasn't doing much. And now she has a constant nausea, and she's thrown up a couple times. It's night now. It's 27 degrees outside, and she's still coughing a lot. So moving forward, we're on day 14 now, and Amy's health is continuing to deteriorate. She decided to launch the flare to see the medic. Now, anybody that's been on the show or knows anything about the show, you know that when you launch a flare or you alert the medics, there's a good chance that you'll be medical pulled. So I'm noticing that the shelter has huge air gaps. Just like you can see the light behind me through these evergreens. Their shelter looks like that. You can see light coming through everywhere. In my opinion, that's not very effective. Jason and Nathan, they watch as the medic examines Amy. And the medic tells her, sorry, you're done. We're going to have to pull you. Not in those exact words, but that was the message. And Amy says being told that she cannot continue anymore was a low point for her. She just wants her kids to be proud of her. And I think they will be, no doubt about that. Anybody that's going to go out there and face the elements and put yourself out there, Amy, you did a good job. You know, you have nothing to worry about. I'm looking at a lizard right now, about 6 feet from me. I got distracted there. So yes, her kids are going to be proud of her. Little lizard. He's about that big. We have a lot of those here in the Southwest. So Jason and Nathan don't want to see her go, and they know that the chores and things are going to get harder for them. So I kind of didn't like that, even though it's the truth. I didn't really like that because I felt like Nathan and Jason were doing well, and I felt like as a team they could have rallied together to pull for her and to bring her up and while she's down. You know, I felt that that would have been important. This lizard's getting closer right here. He's like 4 feet away from me. Day 15. Jason and Nathan are taking turns leaving the shelter and exploring. So that one guy is staying in the shelter to keep the fire going, and the other one's making rounds, and they're taking turns doing that. Jason says that fire is the key to their survival right now. And then the show moves forward to day 19. Nathan sees big footprints, and he thinks that it's Wolverine tracks, and those tracks are leading to the carcass. So he goes over there to take a look, and he sees that there's been a lot of Wolverine activity, and that the Wolverine had ate the nose out of the moose's head, and that the carcass got moved. And then an annotation comes on the screen, and it says Wolverines eat the nose of the moose because it contains the very fatty tissue. And then again in my notes it says Nathan sees that the carcass was moved and the nose was eaten off. And then another annotation, it says Wolverines can smell prey buried in 20 feet of snow. So it's crazy. Nathan says when Wolverine run out of food here, they're going to come to the camp. So when they get done eating that carcass, they're coming up to our camp to look. So he's basically trying to prepare for a battle against the Wolverines. And now it's nighttime, it's cold, 21 degrees outside, and the trail cam caught footage of 3 Wolverines eating on the carcass. So moving forward, it's day 20. Long time they've been out there now. Jason, he said there's tracks everywhere. Nathan wants to go collect sap and make torches to keep the Wolverines away. So it's like a long spear with some sap and stuff on the tip so they can light that and get rid of the Wolverines. And then there's an annotation on the screen that says pine sap or resin contains turpentine, which is extremely flammable. 25 degrees outside, and it's dark now, and they hear something by the meat pole. They go out to check the meat pole, and they hear a growl, and somebody threw their spear or their torch at something. I don't know, it didn't show anything, but we're kind of thinking it's a Wolverine. So moving forward, day 26, Jason's feet are very cold. He's got his boots off and he's warming his feet up next to the fire. Moving forward, day 28, Nathan got cold, and there's still a lot of holes in the shelter. And now Nathan's talking about that. He said the wind came in and we're going to have to work on the shelter. and it's day 28. I wonder why they didn't do that early on. You know that it's going to get colder. You know that you got to have a good shelter in these conditions. So he says, I'm ready for this challenge to end. I'm just ready to go home. I mean, but he's not going to quit. But he's done. He's had it. And then the next thing we see, it moves forward to extraction day. And they made it. And Nathan says, it feels awesome to make it through this challenge. Very, very deep respect for the first people and the things that they went through, the hardships, the cold. He says, I respect them, and I found it to be very difficult. And he fires the flare. They're done. They made it. He says, it's a harsh and really tough environment, but it's not going to change my love for the woods, my love for the Arctic, my love for having a challenge. So I like Nathan. He's cool. And then Jason says, I think this challenge changed me as a person. It's definitely gave me a new perspective on life and on suffering. It's challenged me as an instructor. It's given me a wide gaze to bring back to my survival teachings. And I'm super happy about what I did out there. That's what he says. So that's the end of season 1, episode 4. I hope you enjoyed this episode. It was good. Please feel free to leave comments down below. Like this video, share this video, and again, if you like what you're seeing, please give this video some traction. Share it. If you really like my channel, subscribe, hit that notification bell. This is what I do. Again, it's warm outside. It's 105, and I'm out here doing this because I love you guys. So until next time, thanks for watching. Hope you have a beautiful day, and we'll see you next time. I'm going to try to show you that lizard now. He's still standing there. Where is he? Yeah, there he is. See him? That's that lizard that I was talking about. He's just standing there, right by that rock. See him right there at the tip of my finger? Just a little lizard. He enjoys hearing my commentary. He's telling you guys to hit that notification bell after you subscribe, and he's also asking you guys to share this video and give it some traction because he likes it when I come out here and do commentary. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.